Winter camping is the hardest camping.
And just about everyone makes these mistakes because you think they will keep you warmer, but they really just make things worse.
This is 7 winter camping mistakes that don't always make sense. So let's check it out.
I remember the first time I ever went winter camping. I didn't take a water filter because you can just melt snow, right? And that is true, you can melt snow, but if you just throw a bunch of snow into the pot, you're going to be there a while and use a ton of fuel in the process, because snow is an insulator and it insulates itself from the heat. To speed things up, you need to pour a little bit of water in the bottom and let it get hot and almost even start to boil, then add the snow. But even then, you're going to be using a ton of fuel and your water is still going to be dirty from pine needles and everything else mixed in with the snow that you melt. If it's been boiled, it won't be dangerous, but it really is a lot easier and faster to just find a creek and filter like you would any other time. Just be sure to protect your filter from freezing by bringing it into your sleeping bag at night. Speaking of freezing, fuel canisters can get really cold, and the colder they get, the less they work. Around 11 degrees, ISOPRO canisters will show a noticeable decrease in performance and could fail altogether. To combat this, it's best to get a stove that is designed to burn liquid fuel. You can even burn liquid isobutane if you turn the canister upside down. Just make sure your stove is designed to take liquid fuel and vaporize it before burning by piping the fuel through the flame, like on this stove from Fire Maple. Lots of stoves will do this, including the popular MSR Whisper Light, which can also burn liquid white gas. Just remember, if it's really cold, the fuel has to pass through the flame and you have to flip the canister upside down to get liquid fuel. One of the biggest temptations when it's cold is to tuck your face down into your sleeping bag to stay warm. The only problem is you breathe out so much moisture, it can actually start to compromise the insulation in your sleeping bag. Most sleeping bags are made with down insulation, and when down gets wet, it loses its ability to loft. Wet down in winter is a recipe for disaster and will end up just making you colder than if you never tucked your face in to begin with. In the same way, you don't want to go to bed in wet clothes. Now, normally I don't recommend bringing extra clothes because in warmer weather it just isn't necessary, but winter changes a lot of things and it's best to have at the very least a dry pair of base layers that you can change into before getting in your bag. This will keep your bag from getting wet and losing insulation and will ultimately keep you warmer. And that's true long before you ever get to camp. One of the biggest mistakes that's going to make you cold and wet is hiking in a puffy jacket. Cold weather layers are designed to work together to wick sweat out and away from your body. Base layers wick up to the fleece, fleece wicks up to the shell, and your shell has vents that let your sweat evaporate out into the air. But your puffy jacket has no ability to wick moisture and instead just absorbs it into the down. It may feel warmer at first, but the more you sweat, the more it will absorb and the less it will work. I've got a couple of videos on how cold weather layers are supposed to work that go into a lot more detail. In a nutshell, you have to meticulously manage your sweat by adding or likely subtracting layers.
One of the biggest mistakes you can make is not checking out Garage Grown gear. Whoa, don't double tap just yet, hear me out.
Garage Grown gear has gear you probably don't even know exists because they work almost exclusively with small brands that you can't get anywhere else. Brands like Katabatic Gear, Hilltop Packs, Six Moon Designs, and the Alpha Fleece that you always see me wearing from Farpoint.
They only sell backpacking gear and specialize in cottage and ultralight gear. Go check them out, garagegrowngear.com, or through the links in the description.
Now, I've talked a lot about this in other videos, but when it comes to winter camping, you really need to know exactly how sleeping bag and sleeping pad ratings work. Just because your bag says it's a 0 degree bag doesn't mean it will keep you warm at 0 degrees. Lots of bags list their limit ratings on their bags, which is the lowest temperature you can hit without harming yourself. Most people will still be miserably cold at that temperature. A good rule of thumb is to add 10 to 20 degrees to most sleeping bag ratings, but what's even better is to go find your bag's comfort rating and use that to determine the conditions you're capable of handling. And even more important than sleeping bag ratings is the R value of your sleeping pad. Even the warmest sleeping bags can't keep you warm without a properly rated sleeping pad. For winter camping on top of cold, frozen surfaces, you need an R value of at least 5 or higher. Anything below that, and you're going to feel the cold, frozen ground coming up through your pad. And then the last major temptation when camping in cold, windy weather is to close up all the windows and vents to prevent drafts from getting into your tent. And it makes sense, the wind blowing through your tent will make you cold, right? The only problem is when you close up all the ventilation, you're still going to be dealing with condensation, only now it's going to be freezing to the inside of your fly. So even though four-season tents have the capability of being completely closed up, you still want to let air flow through the tent to help all that water vapor clear out before it freezes to the inside of your fly.
There are so many things that can go wrong on a winter camping trip, so if you want to avoid even more winter camping mistakes, go check out this playlist right here. Please like, subscribe, and do all those other things, and as always, thanks for watching.